Would you have liked to have gotten this episode days ago? Ad-free? Well, you can. Just go to patreon.com/RussoCoon TWC and support the show. The show is the only blackballed wrestling podcast in the entire world, and we really appreciate our patrons, but you get a lot for your money if you go to patreon.com/RussoCoon TWC. Not only do you get this show early, but you get bonus shows, as many as 4 a month, and once in a while, we'll drop something free on there. And you can even do a level where you get t-shirts, phone calls from Vince, shout-outs, all kind of cool stuff. Just go to patreon.com/RussoCoon TWC. Welcome to Truth with Consequences with Vince Russo. I'm Matt Kuhn. Now, Vince, we had a very much talked about show last week on Marks, but I guess the quicker we put that behind us, the better. But this week, we chose, or you chose, a TNA topic. I gave you a list of topics, and you didn't choose any of those. You chose TNA. So what is it about TNA that you enjoy talking about so much?
Well, first of all, Matt, I don't think people realize, because, again, there's a lot of folklore out there. Bro, on a full-time basis, I was employed by the WWE for less than 5 years. I actually worked actively at WCW for 9 months. I was at TNA for 10 years.
Well, I think anybody who wants to own a wrestling company can learn from the story of TNA. And the reason we're doing this show, as you mentioned, is that this ended up representing the highest ratings in TNA history, which are just maybe 100,000 off of what SmackDown this week did. Is that kind of insane to you that the ratings of TNA then are pretty comparable to Raw and SmackDown right now?
Well, Matt, that's what made me raise my eye, because my memory is not 100% correct, but I know, and it might have only been one time, but I know we topped the 2 million mark. I think it might have been once, but I'm looking at SmackDown yesterday and I'm seeing 1.8 million. And I'm like, now listen, everybody will tell you, oh, we can't look at the Attitude Era because the landscape has changed, with DVRs and, there are other options, where to watch the show and yada, yada, yada. Okay, bro, like, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, seriously, guys, if you want to believe everybody's watching the WWE on their phone or their tablet and not TV, and that's why the numbers are going down, then believe that. But the point of the matter is, when we're talking about TNA and 2 million people, Matt, we're talking about 2011. We're talking about 8 years ago, 7 years ago, bro, when you had the smartphone and you had the iPad and you had you had DVR, because I remember DVR were a big numbers back then. Dixie always wanted the DVR numbers to be, so you basically had the same options to watch the show other than traditional television. So that's why, like, now when it's like, well, wait a minute, bro, SmackDown's doing 1.8 million, TNA did 2 million, and you pretty much had the same options 7 years ago. That really was eye-opening for me.
Well, I think both can be true. The ratings have gone down for WWE without a doubt. And also, technology moves at a rapid pace. So the last 7 years, it has, viewership has shifted to other things much more than they did 7 years ago. But I think both things can be true. I think there is a fragmentation of the viewing audience, but to say that that's the primary cause, I think is probably dishonest. It has more to do with less people watching. I don't think there's any dispute about that.
Well, Matt, how you want to really measure it. And again, it's like, bro, like, say what you will about me. Like, nobody's ever going to bring up the positive. And bro, that's fine. Like, I'm so used to it. But here's the thing, bro. I watch Raw and SmackDown every week. That's part of my job, bro. When I'm looking at the way AJ's getting booked and Joe's getting booked and Bobby Roode is the forgotten man, and I don't know what happened to EY. I mean, sanity fell off the face of the earth. And when I look at how those guys were booked at TNA, you got to be freaking kidding me. Bro, you can say whatever you want about me. The way those guys were booked at TNA, WW is not even holding a match to what we did with those guys at TNA.
There's a lot of interesting names in TNA at the time. The first thing I want to talk about is, I don't know, we didn't even talk about this beforehand, is that there was a big push for 10-10-10. What do you remember about 10-10-10 and what that was all about?
Big swerve, bro. Big swerve, big tease, big hook, 10-10-10. He's coming. We used the Abyss character, which is really interesting, bro. The things we did with Abyss, let's see what they do with Abyss now with the WWE. But you had this character talking about 10-10-10. He's coming. So right away, it's like, is this guy crazy or is something really happening? 10-10-10, which was bound for glory. So again, bro, it was the hook. It was the storyline. It was the build to Bound for Glory. And is this guy nuts or is something really going to happen?
And this 10-10-10 thing was built over a year. It was centered on they, kind of like a NWO angle. And it involved Jeff Jarrett, Samoa Joe, facing Sting, Kevin Nash, and D'Angelo De Niro, the Pope.
Wow. And that's another name, Matt. That's another name. Like, bro, I swear to God, Matt, it would be hard. I'm telling you, having worked with hundreds, it would be hard to find 10 people more talented than him, than the Pope. You talk about a guy that had everything, Matt. Everything. And my God, the fact that he is not on a main stage. I mean, bro, a freaking A&W, please, like go after him.
Well, there's reasons for everything. He was Elijah Burke in the WWE, and then he comes to TNA's the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro. There's reasons for everything. Why didn't it work out for the Pope the way it should have?
You want to know something, Matt? This is a true story. And if he denies it, he's a liar. Okay, I'm just going to say it flat out because I wasn't the only one in the room. Matt, we were going to put the belt on D'Angelo De Niro. We had all decided on it, including Eric Bischoff. We had all decided on it. We were sky high on him, bro. And he was delivering and he was getting over. And we made the decision to put the belt on him. Well, Eric Bischoff left that meeting and had a conversation with Hulk Hogan. And next thing you know, it wasn't such a good idea. And De Niro never got the title. But, bro, it was decided upon. It was signed, sealed, and delivered. We all agreed.
Yeah, it's totally weird, totally TNA. But let's get to the card for Bound for Glory. Do you happen to remember what the opening match was?
Not at all. No, I mean, when you tell me, maybe it'll refresh my memory, but not at all, no.
Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, who you said were someone who would never get over in our last show as the Motor City Machine Guns, beat Generation Me, Max and Jeremy Buck, known as now as, who are they now?
The Young Bucks.
The Young Bucks, to retain the tag titles. Of course, as you would guess, Meltzer loves the match. It was great. Crowd loved it. Fast action, good moves. The right way to kick off a show, great heat, and the match went the right length. 4 stars from Mr. Meltzer. I'm sure you didn't give a shit about this match, right?
Well, Matt, let me just clarify you saying. So when you say never get over, I want to clarify that I'm talking about the masses. That's what I'm talking about. You know, purist wrestling fans, like they're gonna love this match. They're gonna love these teams. But I'm talking about masses. I'm talking about a household name. I'm talking about everybody knowing who you are. So like when we talk about like getting over, I mean, that's the level that I'm talking about. Not that these guys were not great workers, because they were. at that time, did I feel like they had all the tools to get over to that level? I did not feel that way at that time.
And it's fair to say at the time, you felt the same way about the Young Bucks, right?
Yes, they were just starting. I mean, they were just starting out.
So I know you're critical of A&W and all that stuff, but there's got to be a part of you that has been very, very surprised at the way the Young Bucks have been able to market themselves and create something for themselves from being this opening match and this Meltzer-like hardcore fan enjoying, as you see, niche audience, to the fact that they've actually done what they've done. As much as you don't like or think it will do well, there has to be a part of you that goes, man, those two guys, they really surprised me.
Matt, listen, no, that's not true. But I want to say this, and I want to make this clear. Bro, back then, there was no doubt in my mind they could be over to the point of they're over now with that audience. I mean, there wasn't a doubt in my mind. The first time I saw these guys work, Bob Ryder, Vince, you got to watch these guys. You got to watch these guys. You got to watch these guys. I watched those guys. I remember it. Soon as it was over, bro, I walked over to Ryder, who was sitting at Gorilla, and I said, sign these guys. Why did I say that? Because I knew there was an audience that would love what these guys did in the ring. Now, Matt, in my opinion, this is just my opinion now, I believe A&W is going to draw that same audience. And if there's money to be made from that audience, that's great, guys. That is great. Now, what you're saying, Matt, now all of a sudden, if this company becomes a sensation and they're now the casuals are watching, more people are watching wrestling, the numbers are going up, then I will be the first one to say, wow, bro, I did not think those guys could draw in casual fans. Well, but I'm not surprised by their success on the indie level.
I can't wait to hear you say that, because their shirts.
And I will say it, Matt. I will say it. I will say that, bro.
Because you can find their shirts at malls and stuff, and I never saw TNA shirts at malls. The next part was Madison Rayne called Chris.
Whoa! I'm throwing a timeout.
Sure. So
Matt, the shirts are cool. Like I don't. Like
okay. So,
I don't know how much it has to do. Of course, it's got something to do with them. Matt, the shirts are cool. So I mean, they're cool looking shirts.
Okay.
TNA. Now wait, Matt. Whoa. Let's have a conversation.
They sold out 10,000 seats in less than 30 minutes with their shirts.
Matt, you talk about. I never saw TNA shirts at Hot Topic. Yeah, bro. That's because Dixie Carter wasn't smart enough to get them in Hot Topic.
Right.
That has nothing to do with AJ wasn't over or Joe wasn't over. She did not have the whereabouts to get TNA shirts in Hot Topic. So we're not just going to go right past that comment.
Well, yeah, it just goes to show that they've reached a different audience. If it's the number one selling shirt at Hot Topic, it's a different audience than just the opening match at TNA. I think that's fair.
I think that's fair. Yes, I think that's fair. Can they take it to the next level though? And like I said, bro, if they do, I will be the first one to say I was absolutely wrong. I'll be the first one to say it.
Well, let's go ahead and then now move on to the next thing. Madison Rayne called Christy Hemi a phony bitch, a skank, a whore, and compared her hairstyle to Bozo the Clown. Suffice to say, they're going a different direction when it comes to promos. That sounds probably like something you might have written if that's what they're saying. Let me ask you this. Christy Hemi, I thought she was fantastic. What do you know about TNA signing her, the fact that she left WWE when she was at the height of her powers there, and then coming in and not wrestling, just being an announcer? It always seemed kind of weird to me.
Well, Matt, I did not see her at all at WWE. So I didn't know anything about that. I didn't see it. Didn't she come in on, didn't she win some contest or something?
She did win a contest. She won one of those diva searches, but then she really did. I mean, she took off. She was on Playboy. She was working in the ring. She was doing good. There's a lot of rumors about why she left WWE, and the fact that she showed up in TNA with her real name, as kind of this weird announcing role, this weird ring announcer thing.
What was her name? What was her name at the WWE?
Christy Hemi.
But you just said her real name. She showed up with her real name.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying she showed up with the same name that she left.
Oh,
with.
okay.
You know, she wasn't Bully Ray and brother whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, Matt, here's what happened with Christy Hemi. I like Christy Hemi a lot. Very, very talented. Very, very beautiful. We could have done a million things with her. Bro, she didn't want to wrestle. She did not want to get in that ring and wrestle. And that's what it really, really, really came down to. So once you're faced with that, now you're just very limited to what she can do. She did not want to wrestle.
And that I think that came across to all of us because she was wrestling. And we talked before about how some of these women don't want to wrestle, but she was such a commodity that I think she was valuable to WWE. We had a knockouts title 4-way match. Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, Madison Rayne, with Tara. Tara has announced her retirement this year. Mickie James was the referee. Meltzer says, not good. Sky's offense looked bad. 1/2 star. What did you think of Tara, Angelina Love, Velvet Sky, and Madison Rayne as
1/2 star, bro?
1/2 star, bro.
That's brutal. I love all those girls, bro. I love them all. I love them all. I love it. I love them all, bro. I really do, man. I can't say enough good things about those girls. I mean, the beautiful.
Was this the right group of women, do you think, to get that casual audience, to get that larger audience to come in? Were these the ones you were going with?
I think so, bro. And let's break it down. I mean, let's break it down and let's look at all of them. Mickie James had a name, obviously. Everybody knew who Mickie James was from the WWE. Man, Tara, you know, bro, that again, that was a struggle with the name. She did not want to be called Tara. She did not like Tara. She did not understand Tara. And bro, I'll tell you right now, that's another one. That was my idea because I wanted to tie in the tarantula. Okay, bro? She didn't like the name. You know, next thing you know, she's going to Sting. She's telling this one and that one. That's how it freaking works. And she came back to me and I was like, we're going with the name. And then, you know, after a couple of weeks, she was fine with the name. Everything was fine. But bro, she's just one of those badasses, bro. Like she's just the real deal. The beautiful people were a commodity, bro. They would have been over at the WWE without a shadow of a doubt. Angelina was the better worker, but people loved Velvet, and she was so beautiful inside and out. And I got to tell you, bro, Madison Rayne, we kind of brought her in as the third wheel of the beautiful people. Bro, she took that opportunity and blew me away. She just brought so much to the table that I was not expecting, and she knocked it out of the freaking park, in my opinion, and she's still working to this day.
The next match is Orlando Jordan, Eric Young, of course, bipolar or whatever it is, and it's a very complex thing from what I'm seeing. But they're taking on this tattoo squad of Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal. I know that Shannon Moore wasn't very happy in TNA at the time. He has expressed regret for the way that he left. I interviewed him about it. Shannon Moore looks great today. He's one of these guys like Stevie Richards, you know, who just looks fantastic and looks like he could be in WWE tomorrow. Tell me a little bit about Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal and what worked and what didn't.
Well, great guys, great look. I mean, bro, I've kept in touch with Shannon, you know, I mean, I haven't talked to him, bro, probably in the last, I don't know, maybe 2 years, but we kept in touch, you know, we you know, all these years. Bro, here's what happened with Shannon Moore, and him and I have talked about it, and he's right. He's right. Bro, Shannon Moore was basically brought in along with Jeff Hardy to babysit Jeff Hardy.
He says the same story. He says the exact
and
same
he's
thing.
right about that. There's no bones about that, bro. No bones whatsoever. And Shannon wanted his own thing, you know, and bro, he had a great freaking look. He had a good little gimmick. He worked with Jesse Neal. They were tatted up. They were believable. They were cool. That's what WWE lacks today is cool. They are cool. They were hip. But bro, every time Jeff Hardy did something bad, who do you think Jeff Jarrett looked at?
Brutus Beefcake. I mean, I'm sorry, Shannon Moore.
And how unfair is that, bro? And like me and Shannon talked about this to length after the fact. And what a horrible, horrible, horrible spot to be in. He had no control over Jeff Hardy, bro. He can't attach himself to Jeff Hardy's hip 24/7, bro.
And with the right, would you say though, with the right push, with the right angle, with the right gimmick, Shannon Moore had every reason to believe that maybe he might be
Absolutely.
as good as his good friend, childhood friend, Jeff.
Why not? Why not? Absolutely.
Right.
No, I'm 100% on board with that.
Shannon Moore could talk. I mean, and Shannon Moore also is very hard on himself, by the way, about the way he left and that he felt he didn't do Jeff Jarrett right and that he just took the contract and call. But I think he's a little hard on himself because he was in an impossible position.
He was in a no-win position, bro. And there was nothing he could do, bro. He can't handcuff himself to Jeff Hardy 20. I mean, terrible, terrible, terrible spot. But, Matt, you could say there's the other side of that where he knew what he was getting into. And if he knew Jeff Hardy as well as he did, sooner or later, he knew that's what was going to happen, but it still didn't make it right, bro.
So this is an interesting one, and this is one we might agree on a little bit. Jay Lethal pinned Douglas Williams to keep the X Division title. A solid match that told a basic story. 2 3/4 stars. Williams hit the Chaos Theory suplex that looked awesome. Jay Lethal is a mainstay. He is in a lot of ways the Robin Yount, the Tony Gwynn of Ring of Honor wrestling now. He was at All In. He did his Macho Man thing at All In. It was hilarious. He did this thing where he kept clicking into characters, the Macho Man, and he would take Brandy Rhodes and hold her by her chin like Elizabeth. It was hilarious. What do you think about Jay Lethal? And were you guys able to tap into the great personality that was Jay Lethal?
Well, I want to talk about the other guy too. Okay, bro, I love Doug Williams. See, people think I'm not a wrestling fan. Bro, I loved Doug Williams. Doug Williams would be on any roster that I worked with. He is a pro, solid. Bro, you know what it is? All those Brits, like they're very respectable people. They're very, very respectable. I would sign Doug Williams to a contract today. I love that guy. Jay Lethal's another one, bro. Jay Lethal and I had a very, very, very close relationship. The whole Flair thing and the whole macho thing started when I heard him cutting a promo in the locker room. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So he did the whole macho thing with me. We ran with it. And then he started doing Flair. And then, bro, again, 5 years removed from the fact, I'm reading an interview that, I was the one responsible for him being let go. And I'm like, it's like, bro, like, are you freaking kidding me? So I had a conversation with Jay after that. I'm like, Jay, like, did you not understand everything with TNA was dollars and cents? Bro, if they had bills to pay and they couldn't pay those bills, a talent was being that's how TNA ran. It was all money, bro. It was all dollars and cents. So if your contract was up and they needed to save money, guess what, bro? They were going to try to lowball you. But how it comes back to the writer of the show that, that literally gave you the black machismo, gimmick, got you in there with Flair. All of a sudden, bro, let's get rid of this guy. I mean, come on. That's the stuff that's just so unfair, bro.
And Jay Lethal's doing well now for Ring of Honor. I think, is that someone you think would be in WWE or on their horizon? Or do you think that this is the legacy of Jay Lethal.
Yeah, it's got to be. They would kill him in WWE, bro. They'd kill him. He's too nice a guy. They would kill him. He wouldn't say nothing. He's very soft-spoken. I think he's great exactly where he is.
His Ric Flair impression is amazing.
Amazing.
Right? So something happens in this match. That'll be an interesting segue. After the match, the Shore showed up. Taz called him Robbie G, but he calls himself Robbie E.
Taz, yeah.
He laid out Lethal using a diamond cutter as his finisher. I think this is his first appearance since he's from the Jersey Shore and DDP was from the Jersey Shore. He then said Lethal was a disgrace to the state of New Jersey, while Cookie finished with her catchphrase, Jersey's in the house, bitches. The Shore got heat, but it felt more like go away heat. Talk just a little bit about Robbie E. And he's your creation and how he ran with it.
You see, I just want to mention there, Meltzer saying it's go away heat. Well, see, you got to understand. Meltzer's saying that because he wants to see the match. It's Doug Williams against Jay Lethal, and he wants to see the match. So, now there's outside interference by this guy. It's go away. No, it's not freaking go away heat. Robbie E. had heat. Bro, the minute I was introduced to Robbie, he showed up at a TV taping by Pat Kenny. Pat's from Jersey. And bro, he goes, whatchamacallit was red hot at the time. Jersey Shore was red hot at the time. And he's like, Vince, you got to meet this guy, blah, blah, blah. Bro, I'll never forget it. The first time I saw him, he was wearing polka dot trunks. And I said, bro, if you've got the balls to wear polka dot trunks for a tryout match, you are over with me. He went out to tryout match. He had the Robbie E. charisma, and that was it, bro. I fell in love with the guy.
I mean, you talk about go away heat. Robbie E. has go away heat with me because he has left my other show, Why It Ended, with Robbie E. to raise his kids and to do all of his busy wrestling stuff. But it's also a good time to announce that I'm doing a new show after all this, Vince. Thanks to Robbie leaving. There's going to be a new show on MLW. It's going to be the Matt Coon show pretty much. It's called Total Engagement with Matt Coon. Check it out if you can. What do you think about Robbie raising twins? That's pretty crazy, right?
When does that start, Matt? Do you know?
Starts this Wednesday. So if you like why
you're going to say, you're going to tell us it starts this Wednesday, or like, what you want me to promote this thing for you? What do you want me to do, Matt? Just tell me.
Thank you so much, Vince Russo, for asking. Tomorrow, Wednesday, Total Engagement with Matt Coon on the MLW Radio Network. Now, I'm as disappointed as anybody to say goodbye to Robbie E. for Why It Ended. But if you are a subscriber and listener to Why It Ended, just go exactly to where you listen to that show, and you're going to find Total Engagement with Matt Coon. Now, what is it? We're going to have a long-form interview. Some people like my interview style, and we're going to get in depth with some of the biggest names in wrestling. We're also going to have maybe even a segment of a WWE talent who's going to talk to me off the record, and I am going to get some anonymous inside dirt about the feelings and the scene and the attitudes backstage. We're also going to have an Attitude Era star join us and tell us something they like about wrestling and don't like about wrestling right now. And this week it's D'Lo Brown, and we have a lot of other fun stuff in store. I find there is a need for informative / entertaining wrestling podcast, and we're hoping you give us a shot over at Total Engagement with Matt Coon on the MLW Radio Network. Oh, and there's going to be a lot of music too. So come on by, check it out. Let me know what you think. Tomorrow, as you listen to this, you listen to Truth with Consequences first, and then you leave us a 5-star review at Truth with Consequences, and then you tweet everybody about how much you love Truth with Consequences, and then tomorrow, check out Total Engagement with Matt Coon.
Wait a minute, hold on. Are you hitting that rum candy again?
What is rum candy?
Are you drunk?
No.
Bro, this show drops on Monday.
Oh my God,
Tomorrow's Tuesday. You just told me Wednesday.
Vince, the show drops at 3 a.m. on Tuesdays.
You're right. I'm on the rum candy. You're right.
But
okay.
You know, the problem is that you have, here's why you get so confused, man. Because you have so many shows. You do this one, and then you do 5, I think, you wanted to make your shows on Realm be a little bit, more intense. So you kind of maybe cut a couple shows, and now you're giving the full Vince Russo experience for 5 different shows, maybe sometimes more a week. I'd get confused too if I had that many shows.
Yeah, well, Matt's show is tomorrow, bro. It is Wednesday. Check it out, MLW. I can't wait to see who the guest is. But yeah, guys, I'm on the brand, guys. We've been doing it now for 5 years. Russo'sBrand.com. There's a different show every day of the week. Headlined by Stevie Richards, the Disco Inferno, Bin Hameen, castrating the marks. We have a Raw SmackDown review, a bucket full of chicken necks where we try to talk about everything but wrestling. It's a different show every week, bro. It's less than $1 a week. Just check it out at Russo'sBrand.com.
Raw and SmackDown reviews, pay-per-view stuff, and also Disco Inferno as well.
The world famous Disco Inferno every Friday.
So make sure to check that out at Russo'sBrand.com. When you guys kind of did this reset in TNA, one of the guys brought in was RVD. He has of course, a Monsters Ball match with Abyss because, that's what you got to do. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff with blood and barbed wire and all this kind of stuff. Abyss grabbed Janice, the name of his barbed wire baseball bat. There's a chair, and RVD hit the frog splash for the win. Abyss was laid out, but vowed that they were on their way. 3.25 stars. Tell us a little bit about RVD's time in TNA.
Yeah, I mean, bro, from the way I remember it, it was definitely Hulk that was instrumental in bringing in RVD. I mean, from the way I remember it, bro, RVD, very laid back guy. I never had too much. I don't know what's interpersonal with Rob, RVD. I mean, we were never tight that way, but always a pro, always great. I saw him once, man, at one of the shows, bro. He was tucked away talking to my son for 2 hours, and that made me very nervous. I didn't know what Rob Van Dam was talking to my son about for 2 hours, but really great guy. But Matt, can I say something? Because I get accused for a lot of stuff.
They weren't eating gummy bears, were they?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't.
What do you get accused of?
I don't, but I got very nervous. But Rob Van Dam's a great guy. Matt, I got to say something about this because I get accused of a lot of crap that is not fair and untrue. I love Abyss. I love Chris Parks, bro. The nicest guy you will ever meet in your life. I hope they don't eat him up, chew him up, and spit him out at the WWE because they can very easily if they want to. And I'm worried about that, bro, because the guy's like a big freaking teddy bear, bro. That's how he is. But, bro, I want to tell you, like, every match before and after, I would tell him, bro, it's too much. It's too much, bro. It's too much. It's too much. I think, Matt, I got to be honest with you. I think there was some kind of an addiction to like that type of violence.
Did you have the authority to cut it down and cut it off and make it
bro,
less?
Yeah. You had the authority to do that, but bro, believe me, what you were seeing was with the bad stuff being eliminated. You know what I'm saying, Matt? Like it was so like, are you effing nuts that even when you eliminated that stuff, and bro, and that's the thing, bro. I remember one time, maybe it was this match, bro, he sliced his arm to the bone. And I remember him coming back and like showing me like, yo, look at this. Like it was, bro, I'm telling you, it was, he got off on that. I'm just going to say, and bro, listen, I love the guy. It's nothing about that, but to me, oh my God, bro, it was always, and bro, that's how they freaking hurt Daphne. They put her in the middle of that shit and almost freaking killed her, bro.
And he kept doing it. He kept doing it.
Oh my God, bro.
We'll talk about, of course, personally, it's one thing. And I think, um, we all have responsibility for ourselves, but also we have responsibility for sometimes people that can't help themselves. But talk about how on a business level, there gets a point of diminishing return where you see that shit every week from Abyss. And if you don't top it, it's boring and it loses its impact, right?
And he feels like he always has to top it. And bro, let me give you a little bit more insight too, Matt, about Abyss. Like, bro, when Jill Jarrett got really sick, I mean, when it was getting close to the end, Jeff had to be like at her side 24/7. So he brought in Abyss, he brought Chris into the creative team and also to be an agent and lay out. Now, bro, I got to tell you something, Matt, and I'm telling you this because this happens a lot. Bro, he was unbelievable. He had such a mind for the business, bro. Creative, outside of the box. Bro, laid out a match with the best of them. But in those creative meetings, Matt, guess what happened?
What's that?
All he wanted to talk about was his character. And when we got to it's a shoot. And then, Matt, here's what would happen. When we got to his character and we decided on something he didn't like, bro, the next 3, 4, 5 hours, he was sitting there with boo-boo face. And Matt, I would tell him, bro,
other people that he can be whiny. Is that true?
Oh, bro, and I would tell him, bro, you have such enormous amount of talent. You're great at this, bro. You have to stop. You've got to freaking stop. You can't just talk about your character and then sit there with boo-boo face because you don't like what you're doing next week. You've got to stop because, bro, he would have been phenomenal in that role. And I know later on he went to help Impact Wrestling in that role. But I mean, bro, that's like when talent's involved in creative, that's always a part of it.
And it's human nature. It's human nature to say,
it is. Yes.
I am in a position where I can make myself more money. I'm in a position where I can help myself get more esteem and get myself more notoriety. Is there a wrestler, a talent you can think of who would, in creative, would bite the bullet and fall on the sword for the greater good of the team?
No. I wish I could say, if there was one, I would put them over to the moon.
What about
Disco?
Really?
Disco.
For real?
Bro, oh my God, bro, seriously.
Awesome.
Like, bro, we could have been in a creative meeting. Like, Disco wouldn't have even cared if he wasn't on the show. What 1,000% Disco, bro. That's it. That is it.
EV2, Tommy Dreamer, Rhino, Stevie Richards, Raven and Sabu, managed by Mick Foley. What is it about ECW? What is it about it that makes it so easy to go back to? What is it that it does to people? And why did you feel like it was a good idea at this time to put this thing together?
Matt, you know what it was to me? I'm going to tell you what it was to me. Matt, when you get these WCW guys, bro,
ECW,
you get a breath of fresh air. You get these East Coast guys, Matt, that are in your face. If they don't like something, they're going to tell you they don't like it. They're going to tell you why they don't like it, and they're going to give you an alternative. You know where you stand with these guys. It's like there's no, bro, I don't want to say there's no ulterior motive, because every wrestler, the ulterior motive is to get yourself over. But these guys do it man to man, face to face, in your face. They'll get in a room with you. They'll shut the door. Bully Ray will cut the promo on you. The promo will turn into a discussion. Then everybody will be happy. And I'm talking Taz. I'm talking Dreamer. I'm talking Devon. I'm talking Bubba. I'm talking RVD. Like all these guys, it was like a breath of fresh air working with them. That's what it was with me, bro. They were freaking real, bro. Because of the angle, I got to bring Tommy Dreamer in creatively. That was freaking phenomenal for me. I loved it. Was one day. I love sitting there talking to Tommy, listening to Tommy. That's what it was for me, bro. So every time there was the opportunity, yeah, bro, let's bring these guys. Let's give these guys a payday.
They took on the team of fortune: Bobby Roode, James Storm, Kazarian, Matt Morgan, AJ Styles, with, of course, Fortune being represented by Ric Flair. So it's kind of like they had team captains. Talk a little bit about what your vision was for Fortune. It seems like the Horsemen to me. What was your vision for Fortune?
Matt, I got to tell you, that was something that I'm not gonna hang my hat on that being a Vince Russo. I mean, Hogan, was very heavily involved in that. Bischoff was very heavily involved in that. I'm sure you heard the story, Matt, of Hogan wanted AJ to dye his hair blonde and start wearing robes that's been said, right?
I'm aware of that story. Absolutely. I believe you have said it. And I think I may have heard AJ Styles talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted AJ dyes. He wanted AJ to be Ric Flair. I felt it was like just getting too convoluted with too many people. And, Hogan had a little bit of a say in it. And that's one of the things, bro, we're like, I'm going to kind of back off of this. I'm not going to get in the middle of this stuff. Let these guys do what they want.
What you're writing? What was the vision for Fortune? What are they supposed to be?
I think, Matt, you were dead on. I think they were kind of looking for a Horseman type of thing, but that's the problem from the get-go. Are you ever going to replace the Four Horsemen, bro? I mean, come on.
And it's almost like there's too many Tully Blanchards and not enough Ric Flairs, kind of.
Yeah, man. It's you're not. You should never. You shouldn't even try to copy that. I mean, there are some things you can copy. Like there are some things like you don't even try, man.
Let's talk about Frankie Kazarian a little bit. He kind of sticks out to me. I always thought it was, and they're doing well now, but I always thought it was interesting that Frankie just combined with Christopher Daniels, and they're now this tag team, this package deal. But at the time, I think he was a individual commodity, and I think he had a lot of potential. He's bigger than people think. He's got a little bit of to me, he's got a star quality. Tell me a little bit about Frankie Kazarian.
Matt, you want to hear an interesting story? And this is a story that those involved would deny, but this is a story that happened, bro. First of all, the old Frankie Kazarian, okay, bro, the guy had movie star looks. I mean, let's face it, gorgeous guy. Who is it? Antonio Banderas. I mean, he had it. He had everything. Okay. Well, bro, he hitched his wagons to Christopher Daniels. And also at that time, bro, there was a little clique going on, and the clique was basically Daniels, Kazarian, AJ, and Samoa Joe. Okay, bro. There was a change. This is my opinion now, bro. I'm not talking. This is my opinion. There was a change in Kazarian when it kind of became like the foursome. Okay. And I do not think Christopher Daniels, from a business standpoint, I don't think he was a good influence on Kazarian. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. So, bro, I'll never forget one night after a show, we're on the road and we got a TV taping the next day. Okay. Kazarian writes me and Terry Taylor, I don't know who else, whoever was involved creatively, Terry Taylor was talent relations, and me, an email basically saying he wanted his release. He didn't like the way he was being used and blah, 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 and he didn't want his release. Okay. So now, bro, in Kazarian's mind, he's making a power play. Okay. So, bro, the show would, at that point, the show would have gone on without Frankie Kazarian. You know what I mean? So Terry Taylor reads this email. Terry Taylor's Talent Relations. And Terry says, okay, no problem. You got your release. No problem. Okay. So now, bro, the next day, AJ, Joe, Daniel show up and they go to Terry. And like, then I got involved in this and they're like, why did you give Kazarian his release? And Terry was like, because he asked for it, bro. Here's the email. The guy wanted his release. Bro, if you're not happy here, here's your release. Well, bro, now they're begging me and Terry to have a meeting with Kazarian that day. So, bro, that day, whatever, Kazarian comes in, me and Terry Taylor sit down with Kazarian. He's carrying on. He's complaining about what he doesn't like. And Terry's sitting there saying, bro, you asked for your release. I gave you your release. If you don't like the way things are here, then fine. Go somewhere where you're going to be happy. And, what happened was Kazarian tucked his tail and, he came back and he fell in line and, it was business as usual. But, bro, it was funny of the perception these guys had of themselves as a unit compared to the perception Terry Taylor had to them in talent relations and Vince Russo had, creatively.
Man, those four, I'm inclined to go with them. I mean, it's possible Terry Taylor at that time was out of touch, and those four could have, especially Joe and AJ. I mean, all of them, Kazarian and Daniels. It just seems to me that maybe in sending that email, he was feeling rightfully underappreciated. But have you ever sent an email that you regret? Besides what we're going to talk about later, that doesn't count. An accident doesn't count. Have you ever sent that Jerry Maguire email before and you sent it?
I think everybody has. And Matt, listen, I'm not disagreeing with you about that, but Matt, just remember who was there at the time. Bro, when you've got Sting and Hogan and Booker and Hardy and RVD, like, bro, and Ric Flair, when you've got those guys and all of a sudden you have a Kazarian kind of giving you an ultimatum, I mean, that's you just should have thought that through.
It's hard to cut through all that noise and all those people when you're a young talent at that time, for sure. This was a lethal lockdown match, which is basically war games, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was
5-minute increments, people coming one at a time.
Oh, is it? This ain't the penalty box shit and all that, was it?
It is not the penalty box one.
Okay, because that was another one I was not there when that was created.
Wait, Vince Russo didn't do the penalty box?
I did not do. If I did, I would say I did. I did not do the penalty.
Who did Lethal Lockdown? Is that you? Is that you?
Well, tell me what the concept was.
The concept is a cage match. It's a 5-minute period to start, and then 2-minute periods to follow. And I guess there's a pin at the end, so it's basically like war games.
I think that's just I think that's very basic and obvious.
With those guys, Rude, Storm, Kazarian, Morgan, AJ Styles, if you were to pick who was going to be your guy out of those 5, who is it and why is it Matt Morgan?
Man, bro, you know Matt?
I do know Matt Morgan. Yes, I do.
God. Well, then you know what kind of a guy he is.
Too smart as he's an acting mayor right now of the town he's in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but bro, he did lack the promo side. And I was really, really, really trying to work with him on the promo side. But bro, like, that was a guy, he's one of those guys, bro, he was too nice for the business. He was not, he was too nice, bro, because when you got a guy that big who looks the way he does, he's a threat to everybody, bro. That's where the politicking starts. And, he didn't shake my hand when he came into catering. That kind of shit. You don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance, bro, unless you're a shark and you're going to bite back. Matt Morgan was not going to bite back.
This is kind of the big angle, and I think this is what you attribute to the rating the next day. Jeff Hardy won a three-way to win the vacant TNA title over Kurt Angle and Mr. Anderson in 1839. Before we get to the big angle and all that stuff, Kurt Angle, of course, was a huge get for TNA. The biggest acquisition they ever had, instant credibility, instant star. But Mr. Anderson was someone who never, as much as things tried to happen, never really found that spot, I don't think, in TNA or maybe even in wrestling. As talk about his potential, talk about what held him back, and maybe.
Bro, you want to hear some? You want to hear something really interesting? I can give you some good insights here, Matt. Matt, first of all, I like Ken Anderson very, very much, very, very, very much. Man, it took me a while, bro. Like almost. It's safe for me to say maybe longer than anybody else to really tune into him and to really get him and to really understand him to the point of, okay, I feel comfortable writing for him now and he's comfortable with my writing. It took me a while, bro. I think a lot of it had to do with he was influenced very much by Steve Austin. And I worked with Steve Austin, and as much as I love Ken Anderson, he was not Steve Austin. So I think we needed to kind of work through that together. We finally got, I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say what got me about Anderson was it was this kind of thing that was tried with Mike Sanders too. I see them as similar. Whereas you make the fact they can cut promos their character, and it becomes like an attempt to be a Roddy Piper type person, but
yeah,
it's
that's
not
fair.
The substance underneath the promo wasn't there, so it didn't really work to me.
Yes. So we finally got to a place of being comfortable, and I remember him saying to me at one TV exactly what I'm saying to you, bro. Like we're starting to hit it on 4 cylinders now. I'm starting to feel comfortable. I'm starting to get it, and this, that, and the other thing. Bro, I got to tell you, Matt, then he took that vicious chair shot from Jeff Hardy. Matt, he was never the same. I mean, Matt, I can tell you when I was having one-on-one conversations with him, like it was not registering. When I would give him verbiage, like he would not remember it. He was bro, Matt, I've never seen, even with the Mick and Rock chair gimmick, when you talk about concussions, bro, when you talk about CTEs, I never saw a concussion screw up a guy more than Ken Anderson. And bro, I am telling you, Matt, he was a different guy. And like, I couldn't even get my shit through to him anymore because, I mean, he was not comprehending it. And it was a very, very, very scary thing, bro.
What do you do in that situation? Is there, at the time, was there any kind of protocol, or was there anything you do when you go, dude, this guy is not right anymore? What can I do? Do you talk to him?
Oh, yeah, no, that's exactly what I did, Matt, because there was no protocol. And I said to him, bro, like, you got to take some time off, bro. Like, I'm telling you, I'm talking to a completely different person, man. You need to go home and get well. I mean, that's my discussion with him.
He had a reputation for being clumsy or being not as well trained maybe as he could be, of hurting people in the ring. Did you see anything like that?
I didn't see anything like that, but that's kind of not my lane, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Were you aware of those criticisms, like with Randy Orton and things like that?
I mean, I had heard stuff like that, bro, but that's more of a wrestling agent type thing. You know what I mean? Than my concern.
This leads to a heel turn by Jeff Hardy. And that is kind of the closing angle. And let me read from the Observer. Angle used a moonsault on Hardy, of course, for a near fall. The match was really excellent at this point. And then Angle clotheslined ref Brian Hebner. This led to Bischoff coming out. And then we had the angle to end the show with Hardy hitting both men with a crutch and pinning Anderson, and the big celebration, 4 stars for this match. What was the thought process in turning Jeff Hardy heel?
Just again, bro, give the people something they're not expecting. I mean, just I mean, we're talking about he's coming, they, bro. Freaking Jeff Hardy isn't even on your radar. Nobody's thinking Jeff Hardy. So just give them something that's the totally unexpected. Creatively now with Hardy as a heel, it's going to open up that creative envelope for you to go in so many different directions, and that was basically the idea of it.
What was the feeling about the pay-per-view? Were you guys happy with the pay-per-view when it was done, with the closing angle,
Matt,
with everything?
If I can remember, and again, Matt, I have not seen this back. Maybe this is a Patreon. I don't know. I have not seen it back. I think something was kind of botched at the end. I'm remembering something didn't go according to plan or as smoothly as it should have. I'd have to watch it back to be able to tell you. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, we told a story, and that was the story we wanted to tell.
So this leaves us with a Jeff Hardy heel associated with Eric Bischoff. And this ends up leading to the largest rating in TNA history on the following night 4 nights later on TNA Impact. When did you find out about the rating? How did you feel about the rating?
Matt,
when it happened?
Can I tell you a great story?
Sure.
And this is what I mean about, like, bro, let people do their freaking jobs. Let people that know what they're doing do their jobs. Bro, I'm going to give credit here where credit is due. Okay. Prior to the Bound for Glory, just Matt Conway and myself, we have to write the following TVs. Okay. Matt Conway calls me. This is all Matt Conway now. And he goes, Vince, I'm looking at last year's the show after Bound for Glory. He said, bro, we did a great number. He said, Vince, it was like 80% talking. And I said, well, Matt, if it worked last year, let's do it again. So, bro, if you go back and look at the show we're talking about, bro, it's probably 45 to 50 minutes of the opening of that next show before you see a wrestling match. It's all talk. We're telling the story. Everybody's reaction to Jeff Hardy turning heel. It's 50 minutes before you see wrestling. Okay? Matt Conway is in the television truck. Okay? Scott Fishman from Spike is in the television truck. Okay? In front of everybody, Scott Fishman is cutting a promo. This is a wrestling show. There's supposed to be wrestling on this show. Where's the wrestling on this show? He's cutting a promo throughout this entire show. Now, Matt Conway comes back and tells me. Now, keep in mind, me and Matt know what the rating was a year ago and how much talking was on this show a year ago. Me and Matt know this show is going to do a rating. Like, we know it's going to do a rating. So, bro, now the next day at the production meeting, Scott Fishman from Spike is there, gets on the freaking soapbox and starts cutting a promo. This is a wrestling show. We're supposed to see wrestling. And, bro, I'm sitting there and I'm not saying a word because I know this show is going to do a freaking rating. So I'm saying it in my mind, bro, do you want wrestling or do you want a rating? Do you want wrestling matches or do you want people to watch this television show? I was under the impression you want people to watch this television show so you could sell advertising and you could get more money for that advertising. That's what I'm thinking. So, bro, sure enough, the rating comes in, and it's one of the biggest audiences we ever had. The ratings through the roof. Here's the part that pisses me off, Matt. Never once did Scott Fishman, did Spike TV, never once did they say, you know what? We were wrong. I guess that's what the people wanted. People tuned in. People watched the show. You guys did a great rating. We're going to leave the writing to you. Bro, from that day forward, after we proved to them, bro, it's not the wrestling. It's the storytelling. After we proved it to them, they still wave the banner of wrestling, 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 because this is a wrestling show. To me, bro, it's like do you want people to watch this show, or do you want to have good wrestling on the show? What is it?
Jason Powell reports on ProWrestling.net, October 21st, 2011. Thursday's TNA Impact Wrestling drew a 1.35 rating, which is up from 1.05. The show that drew the last week. The show drew an average of 2.0 million viewers. So you see it as the fact that there was talking, was, not just correlative, but probably causative as far as it had a good rating because of it, that Scott Fishman was wrong about the wrestling, that the real point of it was this one rating that you drew. And this was the highest rating they ever drew, right? Where are you on the thought that what you do this week affects the next week? For instance, people tune in the show because of what happened the previous week, right? Does that make sense?
Well, lay that again for me, man. I want to make sure I understand you.
If you have a great rating one week, it probably has more to do with what you did the previous week than what's going on TV right now, right?
We got a good rating because people wanted to tune in to see what happened with Bound for Glory. That's right. Why we got a good rating.
Okay, so then you have a 1.40, which is the highlight. It didn't go up from that. So maybe Scott Fishman was right in that this opportunity was given where the booking of Bound for Glory and the angles Bound for Glory led to a lot of interest, but people tuned in this week and it never got higher. It went down.
Well, no, Matt, but that's the key, bro. And this is where WWE, bro, you can look at their history. They've dropped the ball every single time for the last 20 years. That's the key now. You got, I'm agreeing with you. You got 2 million people to tune in because they wanted to see what happened at Bound for Glory. So one of two things, bro. Either they didn't see Bound for Glory, or either they saw Bound for Glory and they want to see they want to see the story unravel. Jeff Hardy's a heel. But you've got those 2 million people there now. That's the key. They're there now. Now you've got to hook them. Now we've got to bring them back the next week. And bro, the bottom line is you're not going to bring them all back the next week because they may have been casual fans and they may have tuned in to see what happened at Bound for Glory. And they're not going to watch next week regardless. But the key is you've got them now. You want to bring the majority of those fans back the following week.
The thing is that if you're right, if the talking is good, then the ratings should go up, right? Like if Scott Fishman's wrong, well, the 2 million people that tune in to see what happened after Bound for Glory would be so intrigued by the follow-up that it would lead to more and more ratings, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but over time, bro, I wouldn't expect if we did 2 million people this week, we're going to do 2.2 million and then we're going to do 2.5 million. Like I would have not expected that at all. I would have expected there to be a little bit of a drop because again, bro, it's the majority of those were not regular fans, bro. They were casual fans. If they were regular fans, we would have been drawing 2 million people every single week. You get those casual fans back slowly but surely with consistent good television week after week after week. You're not going to get them all back in the matter of 1 or 2 weeks. It may take 6 months, bro.
Brian Alvarez reports Figure 4 Daily, October 19th, of the same year, that this show, which is the highest rated TNA program of all time, dropped from a 1.43 to a 1.35 during a wrestling segment, and never recovered. It was Tara and Madison Rain, and then it fell down to a 1.23 towards the end, losing 110,000 viewers. That's not really what you want for a show. You want it to go up towards the end, right?
I would love to know what the main event was in that show. Does it say? Like, I'd love to know the facts. You know what I mean?
Mr. Anderson and Rob Van Dam wrestled to determine who would face the newly turned Jeff Hardy for the TNA title.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, bro, casual fans don't like wrestling, man. They don't like wrestling. And when you get back to wrestling, they're gonna tune out. But bro, I've got to tell you, but Matt, yeah, you want to grow the show throughout all 3 hours. You want to grow the show. But bro, I want to tell you, 110,000 people compared to 600,000 today. I mean, that's a big. WWE lost 600,000 people a couple of weeks ago through the span of 3 hours.
Alvarez goes on to say that they had 600,000 new viewers on this episode because of the Jeff Hardy heel turn. By the end of the show, statistically, every one of those people was gone. That's kind of what happened ratings-wise. First segment opened at a 1.53 rating. The first wrestling match went from a 1.43 to a 1.35. The overrun, the main event of the show went 15 minutes and did a 1.15. So from the beginning of the show to the end of the show, it went from 1.53 to 1.15, right, which statistically represents about 600,000 viewers.
600,000 out of 2 million? I don't think that's right. Well, it's not 600,000. That's what I'm telling you, bro. It's not. What he's saying, those numbers are not backing up what he's saying, because it would have had, I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
So someone out there do the math for us. But hey, everybody, Matt Kuhn breaking in. Vince is right. It does not represent 600,000 viewers. It represents 500,000 viewers. That is the math. It's 75%, more or less. So Vince is right on that. They lost 500,000 viewers from the first segment of that TNA Impact episode into the,
no, bro, but I totally get it, bro. I said to you, bro, the first 50 minutes of the show, there was no wrestling. Bro, once it turns back into a wrestling show, you are going to lose those casual fans that you got at the beginning of the show before it turned into a wrestling show. None of that surprises me at all.
You attribute that to wrestling being on the wrestling show as opposed
to and non-wrestling fans, not non-wrestling fans that aren't fans of wrestling. Once this drama, the first 50 minutes, once this drama is over, and now, now we're turning back into a wrestling show, they're not interested in the wrestling.
But from the beginning of the show, from the beginning of the show to the first match, it already dropped from 1.53 to 1.35 before the wrestling match.
That's okay. That's that, bro. Again, Matt, they're watching drama. There's no wrestling. Bro, all of a sudden, when it turns to wrestling, you're going to lose those casual fans that are not interested in wrestling. That's what I'm trying to say.
And you're in charge of writing the show. Where do you see is Jeff Hardy your top dog? Is Kurt Angle past his prime? Like, is Ken Anderson? No. Where is it you see everybody? You know, like where is it in the mix that you would like to have everybody? You're kind of arranging the chess pieces. Of course, you're dealing politically, but entirely up to you. Who's the guy? Who's the guy you go with? Who's your John Cena? Who's your main guy?
God, Matt, I'd really have to go back and look. I don't know. Because I don't know. Definitely we did not think Kurt was past his prime. We were not writing for Kurt and handling him that way at all. I'd really have to go back and look. And Matt, like I said, finances played a big part in this. Bro, I'll never forget, Matt. A lot of people don't know this. Do you know I once got a call from Janice Carter? behind Dixie Carter's back. Okay, bro? And she asked me the question, Vince, can you write a wrestling show without Sting? Bro, she wanted to get rid of Sting's salary.
I think you told me that. It's financial, completely financial.
Yeah,
right?
and I said to her, and bro, like I had this conversation with Steve, and I think he got hot at me. I said, Janice, I can write a wrestling show without anybody. Like, yes. I mean, if you're asking me, Vince, can you write a wrestling show without Steve Borden? Yes, I can. So, I was truthful with her. And then, I wound up having that conversation with Sting, and I think he got hot at me because I said that. And I'm like, Steve, I can write a wrestling show with whatever wrestlers you give me. But bro, like that played a lot into it. What were guys getting paid? How long were they going to be around? I mean, all that really, really played a lot into it. That's why it's hard for me to say because, bro, when you worked at TNA, Matt, you weren't thinking creatively. You had to figure in the finances. And a lot of people were getting paid per shot. So like, and bro, they tried to stick to a budget of, okay, bro, we can only spend X amount of dollars on talent this week. So, well, it's like, shit, bro, I want Sting on this week. But if we have Sting on this week, then we got to cut out Steiner and Booker T. I mean, all that shit came into play at TNA.
So this show, I think it's a really good idea for an episode because I think covering the height of the TNA, the height of the ratings, it is very true that TNA achieved its highest ratings under Vince Russo. There's no disputing that. The facts are there, the numbers are there, there's no doubt about it. And everybody's always wanted to talk about, and you've talked about it before, but not in this kind of format, your exit from TNA. And I think, I'm not sure it's a great episode standalone, but I've always wanted to talk about it. So let's shoot to that, if that works okay with you.
Well, yeah, Matt. I mean, Matt, we're at 2 million viewers, bro. We okay now we need to build on this. 2 million viewers was yesterday, bro. I mean, now we need to build on this. And bro, that's the thing you got to kind of look at. Do me and Eric Bischoff like each other? No. Do we know we don't like each other? No. Are we two different people? Yes. We just got 2 million viewers. So, okay, bro, we need to work through this because we need to build this thing. Okay. Well, bro, what was happening at the same time was when Hogan and Bischoff come in and all of a sudden everything is starting to get cut because of their payday. Dixie was making it more and more and more clear to me. Vince, do you really need Ed? You got Matt now, blah, blah, blah. She wanted to cut it. She wanted to cut the money. It was nothing personal against Ed. She wanted to cut the money. And I said, I would always say, bro, if you can't afford Ed, then cut Ed, Dixie. Do I want him here? Do I want to work with him? Yes. Do I think we need him? Yes. If you need to save whatever it is you're paying him, then cut him. That's what I would say because I knew that's what she was getting after. So, bro, she lets Ed go. Now there's a gap. Okay. So now I'm like, okay, Dixie, you let Ed go. You couldn't afford him. I need help with see, bro, Eric did not produce pre-tapes. Eric did not get his hands dirty. That's not what Eric did. Matt, I'm just going to be honest with you. We'd have a production meeting at Universal Studios at 11, 12 o'clock. Okay, bro? As soon as that meeting's over, I'm doing pre-tapes, bro. I'm getting the girls in and out of makeup. I'm setting up shots. I'm working with the camera guys, and I'm in the trenches at that time, bro. Eric and Hulk go back to the hotel. Okay, the show starts at 7 o'clock. Those guys would mosey back in at about 5, 6 o'clock. So now with no Ed, I'm doing all that shit on my own. Okay. So now I'm like, Dixie, I need help. You got rid of Ed. Let's bring somebody in like just to TV. Okay. That will help me and it'll save you some money because there's not a full-time person. Well, Matt, who's that guy? Bruce Pritchard is at home. Bruce Pritchard can't get hired. I know Bruce Pritchard has a sick wife and kids. I know how much Bruce Pritchard loves the business. I know Bruce Pritchard burned me in the past, but it was like, you know what, bro? This guy mentored you. You were friends with this guy. You need to do the right thing. Knowing full well what Bruce was going to do when he came in, I wanted to help him out. So I convinced Dixie to hire Bruce. Bruce comes in that role of helping me with pre-tapes. Next thing I know, bro, I turn around. It's JJ Dillon and Kevin Sullivan all over again. I look to my left. There's Bruce and Dixie having a sidebar. I look to my right. There's Bruce and Dixie having a sidebar. And I'm like, he's working the pants off of her. And I'm like, Vince, you knew this. Like, you knew this going in. You made the decision to help him out anyway. You knew what was going to go down. Matt, it wasn't 2 weeks that I got called into Dixie's office and Bruce was now my boss. So, Matt, this is the pecking order now. Me and Matt Conway are writing the show. We're doing all the grunt work, A to Z. We're done with the show. We bounce the show up to Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard gives his comments on the show, bounces it back to me and Matt. Me and Matt adjust the show, send it back to Bruce. Bruce now sends the show to Eric. Eric now, gets his red pen out and puts his signature on the show. Eric now sends the show back to Bruce. Bruce looks at the show now, sends it back to us with Eric's comments, and now me and Matt have to adjust the show only for Hulk to change the show when we get to Universal Studios. So now Dixie had the pecking order and the structure so effing convoluted that I said, this is freaking ridiculous. This is an absolute joke. Somebody has to tap out of this, bro, because there's too many levels, and that somebody might as well be me. And that's when I gave Dixie my notice. I said, I'm leaving. She tried to do everything to get me to stay. And I said, no, Dixie, I'm not staying. The way you structured this does not work. I cannot work in this kind of a structure. I'm done. I'm done and I'm finished. And that was it. I whatever, the 2-week notice, whatever it was, and I was done.
What were you going to do for income at that point?
I don't know. I had no idea.
You're just like, fuck it.
Yep. I had no idea, bro.
Was that
nothing.
The right decision?
I had nothing. Absolutely was the right decision. It had turned into such a headache and such a mess, Matt. I wanted nothing to do with it, man.
What was the reaction when you decided to go?
I think she was shocked. I mean, I think she was absolutely shocked.
You were like really her go-to dude for like a long time. Like that must have been tough for her.
Well, not only was I her go-to dude, bro, I was the only guy that was freaking honest with her. I wasn't the guy working for her. I wasn't the guy looking for power. As a matter of fact, bro, there was a time before Eric and Hulk were hired where Dixie wanted me to be more of a vice president role. And I said, no, Dixie, that's not what I do. I don't want to be a vice president. I don't want people under me. That's not what I want. I write the show. I produce the show. That's all I want to do. And she got hot at me because I didn't want the extra power and the extra money.
By TNA after that.
Bro, here's what happened, Matt. Here's what happened, bro. This is a true story. So, Matt, I go home. This is like February. Okay? Matt, all of a sudden, Bruce is gone. Bischoff's gone. and Jarrett's gone. All of a sudden, every single person who was a headache was gone. Bro, I never ever thought in my wildest dreams that would happen. They were all gone. I think by the time I contacted them. When I saw all those people gone, I was like, okay, now there won't be an issue. Now they're all gone. Now there won't be an issue. I contacted them. And I actually had a conversation with Dixie. That was probably, Matt, I want to say October. And Matt, a lot that had to do with it, that was, to be honest with you, my business was going out of business. I went into a business and it was going under. And now at the same time, all these guys were being eliminated from TNA. My business was about to go out of business. I knew Dixie never wanted me to leave in the first place. I knew she didn't. So that's when I contacted her.
So why bring you back as a secret?
Oh my God, bro. Can I tell you why, Matt?
Yeah,
you know why.
I don't. I've heard a couple things, and I'm going to read you a couple things, but tell me why.
Because she was afraid of what the dirt sheet writers were going to say. That is it in a nutshell, bro. In her mind, there was going to be negative press and negative publicity because she knew the Meltzers and the Kellers and all those guys were going to bury it. That's why.
Why does she care so much?
Bro, you tell me. I'll tell you why she cared so much. I'll tell you why she cared. First of all, bro, she was set up to not trust anybody. She smartened up after a while. She Jeff worked her, Bischoff worked her, Hogan worked her, Pritchett worked her. So she did not trust anybody. Bro, she did not trust her opinion of wrestling. She didn't know what was good and what was bad. Matt, I think you edited this out of a show once, and I don't know why, because I think it's important. Matt, she had weekly conversations with Wade Keller. The reason she had weekly conversations with Wade Keller was she wanted to present ideas to us and opinions to us that she felt were educated. She didn't have confidence in her own opinions and her own ideas, but she knew Wade Keller had been around the block. Wade Keller had covered wrestling. I'm going to bring Wade Keller's comments to them so it looks like I know what I'm talking about. What she didn't understand was Matt Conway read the dirt sheets. So when Dixie would leave, Matt would look at me and say, Vince, Wade Keller said every single one of those things on his show this week.
I believe I edited it out because, first of all, it was something that was stated by you on your Why It Ended interview with us. And also it was off topic of talking about Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Of course,
all right. But I just think that
it's on topic.
I think that's important. It's got nothing to do with Keller, but the influence they had on her, which of course led to everything blowing up with me, because that's why it was a big secret. It had nothing to do with Spike. Nothing at all to do with Spike. I didn't have a bad relationship. Now, bro, I know Eric was burying me to Spike because, again, the power, and he wanted to paint a picture that Vince Russo was a moron. But while I was working there, I never had an issue with anybody from Spike.
So from your standpoint, it was kept a secret because she did not want the dirt sheets to get out. She was so afraid of it. Let me ask you this. Vince Russo, a guy who walked away from TNA to nothing out of pride. Vince Russo, a guy who walked away from an easy job at WWE in 2002 because you didn't want the stress, but you would have had a lot of money for pride, for a sense of pride, for a sense of self-worth, for a sense of frustration and ease. Why would Vince Russo, the guy that I know who gets stressed out by so much, why would you agree to that? To be a secret? That sounds very un-Russo like. Like you would,
yeah, it is.
the Vince Russo I know would be like, fuck that.
Can I tell you something?
I don't want you to be ashamed of me. Why the hell would you
Can I
be
tell you
ashamed of
something?
me?
Matt, the biggest mistake I ever made in my life. Because, bro, that's what's held against me. You're a liar. You're a liar. We said you were consulting for TNA and you lied. You're a liar. Yeah, bro, I did lie. I did lie about it because,
Bullshit.
bro,
You didn't lie. You bullshit. I'm sorry, because I'll be the first one to argue with you about everything and anything. But if your boss asks you to keep it secret, it's not your lie, dude. It's not your lie.
Matt,
like
it wasn't only kept it secret. Matt, she said to me verbatim, Matt, if this gets out, the gig's up. Verbatim. I mean, that her exact words. Matt, at the time, I needed a job. Like I needed money. My business just went out. I needed a job.
You're not in a position to say no to this weird request.
But I should have. I should have said exactly what you just said, because from that moment on, that's the pinning of Vince Russo, the liar, because I can't deny that. I can't deny. Yes, I was consulting there, and I said I wasn't. I can't deny that.
So there's a different story that's told about it. The story goes that Jeff Jarrett was setting up years to work up a working relationship with Wrestle One, which is a Japanese promotion.
Bro, I just read this for the first time the other day. I had never heard this till yesterday.
And that the reason it was kept secret was because New Japan Pro Wrestling did not like Vince Russo, because there's a couple guys that came in to TNA and they were not happy with how New Japan was not happy with how they were booked. And that is Naito, which is, he just fought Jericho, at Wrestle Kingdom. Okada, who is one of the biggest wrestling star in Asia and around the world to a lot of people. And the fact that the way that they were used along with Takahashi was a warning to them, and maybe even lingering bad feelings about how you booked the IWGP cruiserweight title with Jushin Liger WCW, where New Japan, if they knew that you were working with TNA, they would not want to work with TNA. Even though you didn't know about that, is that possible?
But what do you know? I swear to God, Matt, I heard that for the first time. I don't even know where I saw it, like 2 days ago. Do you know when that surfaced?
It surfaced the day that the Mike Johnson story came out.
Oh, okay, so it surfaced way back then.
Yeah, it served. That's where I got it from.
Can I tell you something? Honestly, could that have been the case? Yes. I don't know. Could that have been the case? But I think John Gaborik would have told me that. I think he would have told me that. I think he would have been honest with me and said, Vince, like, here's the case. I'm trying, we want you to help us out. I'm trying to establish a relationship with these guys. Let me get the contract in place, and then I will say, I believe he would have told me that. I don't think he would have had any reason to keep that a secret from me.
Meltzer reports at the time, Russo had been involved with creative long before he was working with the announce team, the whole announce team like thing. And then months ago, their Japanese partners were upset and asked about Russo being involved, and were at first never given a straight answer. However, John Gaborik later admitted to Keijo Muto, which is the great Muta, that Russo was working there, but assured him that Russo was working underneath him, didn't have a final say, and that he would be the one deciding on how the Japanese were portrayed. And that and what happened with Naito, Takahashi, Okada would not happen with the Wrestle One talent. And Wrestle One was happy with how Sonata had been used. Is it possible that's true?
It is, of course it is. But see, that's wrestling. Because what I would have preferred is, if that were true, then bro, just tell me that. I mean, see, so like, again, could that have been true? Absolutely. But it's like, again, bro, it's secret on top of secret on top of secret. If they're telling him this, he's not telling me. I'm assuming it's because of the dirt sheets. That's what I'm talking about, Matt. Like that's not the environment I want to be involved in.
And it's realistic in the sense that there is an interview where you said this a long time ago, where you said something like, Americans don't want the Japanese and Mexican wrestling, and you said something like about Jushin Liger. If you want that, it doesn't even make sense that you said this, but if you want that lucha libre crap, go to Japan, because that's not where it is. But
But I also got to tell you this, bro. I also have to tell you this. I know Okada has put me over on interviews.
Really?
Yeah, he has said, I like my time when I was at TNA because I learned how to work a character. He has said that in interviews.
But
all of that is very plausible. All of that is very plausible, but never once relayed to me.
So meanwhile, Vince Russo does something that I got to be honest, dude. I could totally do this. I probably have done. I have done this with a text before.
Yeah.
Where you said it to the wrong person.
Yep.
Hey, do you watch Larry David?
Of course.
Are you aware of the accidental text on purpose? Do you know what that is?
Yes.
So I was with a room full of kids, and I was about to tell them about the accidental text on purpose, and my son was giving me the Iggy. He was like, no, and his ex-girlfriend was in the room. He did the accidental text on purpose to her.
Matt, you want to hear a funny story?
Sure.
Matt, I just started working with the announcers. So I had not emailed Taz and Mike Tenay in years. So I'm going to send this to Mike Tenay. Bro, you know how like when you put in Mike, all your mics come up? Yeah. You know how that works. I go to put it, I go to email to this to Mike Tenay. Mike Johnson was in my email gimmick. So instead of sending it today, I send it to Johnson. But Matt, you want to hear the funniest thing?
Sure.
So Matt, I send this to Mike Johnson.
What was Mike Johnson doing in your email thing? Did you had communications with him before?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Probably wanted to interview me or something. I'm sure there was.
But you're not feeding information to anybody.
No, bro. Like I swear to God, like I knew who Mike Johnson was at the time because they were carrying on that I was working their work. Or he emailed me cutting a promo on me. Bro, you know how many freaking Dave Scherer emails I have of him just cussing me out that you would go hysterical?
No, I have seen your Dave Scherer email threads. They're fantastic. And Dave Scherer is Mike Johnson's boss. And shouldn't Mike Johnson, in a way, be thanking you for this? Because this put Mike Johnson on the map.
Well, Matt, see, here's the issue with the dirt sheets again. Okay, so I accidentally send it to Mike Johnson. Now, if that's me, holy shit, Vince Russo sent me this by accident. If that's me, I'm contacting Vince Russo. I don't expect him to call me. He's got my email just because I've got his. All right, Vince, you accidentally send me this email. What are we going to do? Are you going to come clean now or am I? I mean, to me, that's the respectful thing to do. That's not what he did.
I've had some good interactions with Mike Johnson. I can't argue that point. I dealt with a wrestling journalist yesterday about a separate issue, and he approached things in exactly that manner. Approach things in exactly that manner 100%, where if this guy, somebody that you've maligned a lot, by the way, if this guy got some information that way, I'm 100% sure, I'll say it, I'm 100% sure Ryan Satin would have called you. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I guarantee Ryan Satin would have called you and said, dude, I'm coming out with this story, so you better give me a quote or whatever.
Right, exactly, but nothing. Next thing I know, I'm reading online. I accidentally sent him this email. Okay, bro, you want to hear the funny part of this? Go ahead. I'm going to tell you something, Matt. If there's one person in the wrestling business you don't want to get on the bad side of. Think about this for a second.
Well, that's a good question.
Who do you think it would be? Because I'll tell you who it is.
Oh, man, the wrestling business.
One person, bro.
You've got Vince.
No, worse than Vince.
Worse than Vince.
Worse than Vince, bro. You never want to get on this guy's bad side, bro. Never.
I can't even imagine.
Taz.
I was going to say Taz.
now, Matt, listen to what this turns into. Matt, I'm friends with Taz for years and years and years. Taz called me.
You're Johnny Rod's guys.
Yeah, with Johnny Rod's guys, Taz called me when he wanted to go to WWE. Taz called me when he wanted to go to TNA. He was a brother to me. Bro, figure this out, Matt. Taz calls me, cusses me out, cuts a promo on me, cuts off all contact with me after 20 years, not talking to me anymore. You know why?
Is it because that email made him look bad?
He accused me of purposely sending that email to Mike Johnson.
The accidental text on purpose. He accused me of the accidental text on purpose.
I'm like, bro, what sense does that make? I mean, Dixie Carter told me flat out, Vince, if this gets out, the gig's up. She told, like, Taz, like, in your mind, what sense does that freaking make? Bro, he stopped talking to me. 6 months, bro, 6 months later, out of the clear blue sky, I get a text from Taz. Oh, Vince, you were right. I know you didn't send that text to Mike Johnson. Never apologizing, by the way. I know you didn't send it to him on purpose. And I'm like, oh, really, Taz? 6 months it took you to figure that out.
You know, it's funny working with you. You don't have that much deliberation in your game. You're more of a reactive.
Yeah.
And also you're very ADD and you're very impulsive. You're a lot like me. So if I'm putting odds on, does Vince Russo deliberately said this on purpose as some kind of huge political ploy versus did Vince Russo fuck up?
Bro, you know the arguments I got into him, it was like talking to a brick wall. Like, bro, why would I do that? Like, Taz, it was like talking to a wall. His mind was made up. And I'm like, bro, that makes zero sense. Why on earth would I do that, bro?
You know, something I know about honesty, and I'm not accusing you of being dishonest, but I know, and you're the exception in this rule. And this is for anybody out there. Usually when people are telling the truth, they say, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I didn't do this. A lot of times when people are not telling the truth, they say exactly what you're saying. Why would I? Why were conditions available for me to do that? It's kind of the way that you argue, though. And so I think sometimes you hurt yourself in being less of an advocate for yourself and saying, I did not do that, period.
Yeah, that's possible.
As opposed to you saying, why would I do that? Look at this, look at that, look at this. It sounds like you're hedging, but the fact is, I know you're telling the truth in this sense, and I know you're telling the truth when you say that, but it's just something to think about the way that you frame
I accept that. And Matt, you want to hear something very, very interesting? I don't know if I've ever really talked about this before. Okay. A lot of people think that's why the situation ended with TNA, but that's not why the situation ended with TNA. Okay. John Gaborik was hot. He was very upset with me because this was the big secret, right?
Should John Gaborik have been in the position he was in TNA?
Absolutely not. You talk another one that worked Dixie. I mean, bro, the history of people that were, and not only worked her, the money they worked her for. Another guy sold her a bill of goods, was not qualified for the job.
So step by step in TNA, the email comes out. You're like, fuck. And then who do you hear from first in TNA?
Well, so Matt, let me first tell you this about John Gaborik. They brought me back as a consultant because Dixie wanted me back. And Dixie knew. I'm telling you, bro, I left on my own. Pritchard's gone. Jarrett's gone. Eric's gone. I know, and she'll never say it. And I know Dixie's sitting there. He was freaking right. He was being honest with me. I didn't want to hear it. I got hot at him. He was right. Dixie wanted me back. Gabor did not want me there. Because again, it's the same reason Hunter and Stephanie don't want me at the WWE. Gaborik doesn't want me there because I know more about creative and writing and characters than he'll ever know. But Matt, here's the thing. The first week I was sitting in a meeting with them, it was like, in his mind, he believed he knew more about writing a television show, character development, storylines, wrestling. He knew more about that than I would ever know my entire life. So like at that point, I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, like, why am I even here? I know I'm here because Dixie wants me here, but you think you know more about this than I'll ever know. So the first one I hear from is Gaborik, and he's hot and this and that. And I'm like, John, I made a mistake. What I pushed the wrong button, John.
My bad, dude.
My bad. So, bro, but here's what people don't understand. They don't, the relationship continues. Okay. And Matt, this is another thing where it's like, maybe it's hard to believe me, but it's the God honest truth. About 2 weeks pass. JR calls me. He wants me to do his podcast. Okay. Now, bro, at the time, that was a huge podcast. Okay. Bro, I'm only working with TNA as a consultant. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not an employee of theirs. There's no health benefits. They hired me to consult. So now, bro, going on JR's show, that's huge for my brand. You know, JR's got a huge following. I think at that time I'm doing Pyro and Ballyhoo. I don't know, but whatever. That's great for the Vince Russo brand. I got to do the JR show, right? So now, out of courtesy, I think I emailed them. I got an opportunity to do JR show. I'm going to do JR show. Dixie and John try to tell me, no, you're not doing JR show. And I'm like, guys, you're hiring. I'm working for you as a consultant. Like, I don't work for you. Like, so if I want to do shows and get my brand over and promote myself, you can't stop me from doing that, you know? So then, bro, I say, you know what? I'm going to have a conversation with JR, and I'm just going to tell JR, Jim, we can't talk about TNA at all. We could talk about whatever you want, but we can't talk about TNA. So I called Jim, and Jim says to me, Vince, no problem. I won't bring it up. There's a million other things we could talk about. If TNA is off limits, you've got my word. It'll never get brought up. Okay? So, Matt, now I write them back. I wrote Dixie back. I said, Dixie, I had a long conversation with Jim. TNA is not going to be mentioned. We're not going to talk about it at all. I said, you know, so I hope that's cool. I send Dixie the email. John, I never get a response from her. So I'm assuming, okay, it's cool now. Like, as long as we don't talk about TNA, it's cool, right? So, bro, I do the JR show. JR stays to his word. TNA's never mentioned. Never mentioned. I get a call the next day. Gaborik cutting a promo on me because I went directly against Dixie's instructions and I did JR's show without telling Dixie. And I was like, whoa. Bro, wait a minute, John. I wrote Dixie a follow-up email telling her I had a conversation with JR. TNA is never going to get brought up, and TNA was never brought up, John. Bro, bro, my pet peeve, Matt, is when you call me a liar. I just said, bro, I lied about telling people I was consulted. I lied, bro. I was in a position I had to lie. I lied. Now he's telling me Dixie never got the email and he's calling me a liar. And you know what he says to me? He goes, you know what, Vince? Now I know why a lot of people don't like you. You're a liar. You're this. Bro, now I start dropping every freaking F-bomb on this guy. Bro, I said, guys, I will ship you my freaking computer and you can look at every freaking email I sent. You can look at the date and look at the time on my own dime. I will FedEx you my freaking computer to see that I sent her that email. You never sent it. You went directly again. You're a liar. Bro, I effed him out up and down, up and down, up and down, and that was the end of it.
What was in it for him?
Power.
Bury you for power?
Power, of course, power, bro. Power. Bro, you got to understand, with people like John Gaborik, with people like Triple H, with people like Stephanie, bro, they don't want people around that are better at something than they are. They don't want you around. They don't want you anywhere near it because you're going to show them up. You're going to make them look bad. And in their mind, they're going to look power. The fact that Dixie wanted me there and he didn't, this was his opportunity.
Of course, a lot has been made of the fact that you came out first denying it and then you admitted it. And then, but you've explained that, it was a tough position to be in.
And I made a huge mistake. I should have never done that, bro. I should have never, ever agreed to that.
The initial reaction sometimes is not your best reaction.
I don't think it was the initial reaction, Matt. I think I needed the money. Like I needed income. At that point, I just lost my business. I needed income, bro. I know why I did it. But if I had to do it again, I would have went to work at freaking Kmart.
Yeah. And just, sometimes it's best to say nothing, and in this case, like it's impossible. Like it's an impossible situation, but Mike Johnson, despite what's reported elsewhere, Mike Johnson declares that, eventually that you had zero to do with the Spike TV TNA deal, that they don't know or give a crap about what Vince Russo does. Eric Bischoff, in a bid to bury you at one point, posts a quote by the TNA or the Spike TV executive who said we didn't care about Vince Russo, which unwittingly feeds into your side, which had nothing to do with it. So it's not even worth revisiting, because I think now we know through various sources from Eric Bischoff and Mike Johnson, two people not looking to help out Vince Russo, that Vince Russo's secret email, secret employment had nothing to do with TNA leaving Spike, right?
Well, and one of the things I could tell you, but again, Matt, you got to take this with a grain of salt, because I don't know if he was being truthful. But the whole idea was eventually they were going to bring me back. That's why the next step was working with the announcers. The next step probably after that was coming to TV. They were bringing me through the process. And I remember, Gaborik told me at one point, I told Scott Fishman you were consulting with us. And I told him the plan was to gradually bring you back. And he was 100% cool with that. Now, that came from John Gaborik. I don't know if he was telling. I had no reason not to believe him.
But you didn't even know possibly that New Japan and K1 or Wrestle One was involved. So, I mean, it's not out of realm.
Right. I don't know. Yes. Right.
And also, it's not like, and Scott Fishman's really your Spike TV interactions, right? That's pretty much
it. That's it.
Right. So, with with the end of the TNA Spike deal, Meltzer reports, and having some interactions with Dave Meltzer, he usually, he goes to great lengths a lot of times to get the stories where he gets a source and a secondary source. He does print and he does state, and I think he still believes that Vince Russo has something to do with Spike leaving TNA. We've stated that Mike Johnson disagrees. Eric Bischoff disagrees. Who do you think gave him that story?
He said who gave him that story.
Who was it? Cornette?
Yeah, he said it. He said Jim Cornette was his source. Cornette wasn't even working there at the time. Meltzer said that. He said it in a tweet.
And Jim Cornette is someone who has reason to paint you in the worst possible light.
And not only has reason to paint me in a personal light, was not even working there at the time.
Well, I think this has been a great show. I think we covered the height of TNA and the end of Vince Russo. I
want to say something. I want to put a little bow at the end of this.
Sure.
The whole time I was working with Dixie, do you know what I used to tell her all the time, Matt? Dixie, I really care about you as a human being. I think you're making a lot of mistakes. I think people are working you. Bro, she used to get hot at me when I used to tell her these things. And I would say, Dixie, it's okay that you get hot at me. I'm telling you the truth. And I feel that I owe that to you. And Matt, even when I wasn't working there, even after all this, I would email her. I'm checking in. I always told you, bro, I cared about you. And I'm not one of those people that I'm only going to talk to you when you could do something for me. Dixie, I always cared about you as a human being. And I'm just checking in to see how you're doing and the family and everything else like this, to remind you that there's nothing you could do for me at this point. I'm just checking in to see how you're doing. And bro, I got a very nice birthday wish from Dixie on my birthday a couple of weeks ago. Since then, her and we've emailed back and forth maybe 2 or 3 times. Bro, nothing in the world she could do for me. Nothing in the world I could do for her. But to me, that is very, 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 very important to me.
Well, Miss Carter, Dixie Carter, there's something she could do for me. I would love, we had a show which was John Arezzi and Vince Russo together. I would love maybe at some point.
I would love that.
Dixie Carter and Vince Russo together.
I would love that.
Because a lot's been said, a lot's been done. Miss Carter, we're Facebook friends, but we've never met. If she knows anybody or if anybody wants to politely ask, that would be great. So that brings us to a close on this episode and this show. And we're trying to save the outrageous for the end. And Vince, you have a take for this week. What is your take? What is your outrage of the week, Vince?
Can I bang my head against the microphone a couple times, though?
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Can I tell you that anytime I see a kid hit their own head, I really go off at them because it's so bad on their brain.
Yeah,
it really is. But you know who does it is that Nikki Cross. And I wish she won it.
Yeah, you're right.
She hits her own forehead. Brain studies show that's bad. But anyway, so don't hit your head. Just tell us what's on your mind.
Matt, I like Becky Lynch. I'm a fan of Becky Lynch. And this has nothing to do with Becky Lynch. Nothing to do with her at all. The only thing it has to do with her is her not speaking up. And, bro, it depends on who you are. Some people are going to speak up and some people are going to fall in line and do exactly what they tell you to do. And bro, there are arguments for both sides. I'm on the side of, bro, I'm not going to be working for the WWE forever. And the first thing I'm going to protect first and foremost is my brand. So when you're doing something for me I don't think is right, I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's right. And how about trying to do it this way? Because my brand is always going to be with me, even when I'm gone with this company. And if you hurt my brand, that is going to affect my pocket and my livelihood. So that's the side of the fence I'm on. I don't know what side of the fence Becky is on. I don't know. But, bro, the way they're booking her, They are absolutely killing her. Matt, it's so obvious to me that I'm almost feeling like it's intentional because it's so obvious that it's like you guys cannot be blind to this. You guys have to see how much you're hurting this talent. You can't be that Triple H, Vince, whoever's writing this stuff. I know you're smarter than that. Can I give you a couple of examples, Matt?
Give me an example and also give me what the better thing is to do.
I'm going to give you 2 examples. Okay. First of all, I wrote for Stone Cold Steve Austin. Okay. We worked very closely together. Okay. Austin 316, a can of whoop ass, all of that. All that is Steve's. I did not, just like Rock, I didn't come up with any of the catchphrases, nothing like that. But we worked on the television shows very closely because I would write for Austin, okay, bro, this is what I think you would do. And then Austin would say, yeah, I would do that, or nah, I would do that. That was the relationship we had. So we keep hearing Becky Lynch is the female version of Stone Cold Steve Austin. So, okay, bro, then let's book her like Stone Cold Steve Austin. So every time I'm watching her on TV, I'm thinking, okay, Vince, you're writing for Austin. What would Steve Austin do? Okay. Let's start, bro. There were 2 shows back to back. Okay. Here's the first thing, Matt. She's cutting a promo on SmackDown. Charlotte comes into the ring, right? What does Becky Lynch do? She cold cocks Charlotte and then walks away, and then Charlotte's got to run after her. Okay? Now, let's put Steve Austin in that spot. Steve Austin's tired of hearing you run your mouth. Steve Austin cold cocks you. You're down selling. He's going to be cutting that promo over you. He's going to help you up, and he's going to tell you, take your receipt. Go ahead, take your receipt. Okay? The guy's going to go nail Austin. Austin's going to block him and beat the living shit out of the guy. Austin's not going to cold cock somebody and walk away. That's a pussy. Like, that's a pussy. Bro, next day, they're backstage. She runs into Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey reads her the riot act. Becky stands there face to face, listens to everything she says, doesn't say a word, and Ronda Rousey walks away. Can you imagine somebody cutting that promo in Austin's face and him not saying a word and letting that person walk away?
Absolutely not.
That's what, but Matt, here's what I think it comes down to. Bro, they don't even know how Austin was booked and how Austin got over. They don't even know what they did. They can't even duplicate it because they don't know. Perfect example. Another example, Matt. She taps out to Asuka on the Royal Rumble. The next night, she wants Ronda Rousey. Austin is not even going to mention. First of all, she should have blacked out. Why you would have the man, if the man taps out, you're a pussy, man. Austin would have never tapped out. Never.
You know what would work is a blood stoppage.
Even like, that, Matt, a blood stoppage.
For a woman, that'd be crazy.
Yes, a blood stop, but you have her tap out. It's like, wait a minute. The man just tapped out. But then, bro, she doesn't even address it the next night. Now, if that's Austin, bro, I'm getting Asuka before I even think about Ronda Rousey. But you just tapped out to this woman. Now, bro, again, Becky Lynch does not write the show. This has nothing to do with Becky. I'm talking about the character. I mean, guys, come on. You've got to protect your characters, man. You're killing this girl.
And that is your outrage of the week. And, you're someone who sees potential. It's like I get angry at kids when they mess up because they have so much potential. Yes. You want to get angry at this unless you saw the potential in it, right?
Yes. And like Matt, she can't be pandering to the crowd. These are instructions they got to give her. They've got to tell her that.
Pandering is the worst, right?
It's the worst. You think Austin did Steve Austin ever pander to the crowd? He could have gave a rat's ass whether you liked him or not. He never ever pandered to the crowd.
It was a subtle thing. Austin would get enjoyment once in a while out of a crowd's reaction, right, to what he was doing. He would look up and acknowledge and then not give a shit and say, well, it's good they like this, but I'm doing this shit anyway, right?
That's it, bro. It's like, come on, guys, you got to do her better than that.
That is a great point about Becky Lynch. I think there's other issues with the Becky Lynch thing, and I am fully in favor of bringing in Charlotte in the three-way match. Given the WWE and their booking that you can predict and the things you think about them, do you think that's the way it needs to be? If it is a headline match, that's a big talk. Is it the one-on-one match, or do you bring Charlotte in as well?
Well, I mean, you got to look at it two different ways, bro. Their audience wants the one-on-one match, and there's going to be backlash if there's not the one-on-one match. If Charlotte is in there, is she going to make it a better match? Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But that's not what their fan base wants.
I think what the fan base wants is the clean win in the middle of the ring by Becky Lynch over Ronda Rousey to end WrestleMania. But the chance of the match, I think bringing Charlotte in there reduces a lot of X factors. So I like Charlotte in there. But who knows where they're going with all of this? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So speaking of interesting, guys, make sure to check out our Patreon, because as I'm looking at now, we're running very late again. Vince and I start talking, it goes off. This is a 2 hour and 45 minute show. I'm thinking it's going to be an hour and a half, hour and 45 minute show on when you hear it on the great Westwood One podcast to make it the best show we can for you. But if you like all those extra, all the sidebars, all the arguments and everything that we do here, make sure to sign up to our Patreon. We got some great bonus shows. It's February, so it's time to start recording our bonus shows again, and maybe a couple extras on there as well. Vince, talk about the Patreon a little bit and how great it's doing and how much stuff we're going to put on there.
Yeah, I love the Patreon, bro, because I'm telling you guys, I'm not, you guys know I don't work. I'm watching stuff I have not seen since I was in the building. Like, I mean, Matt, remember last week I was trying to figure out how the hell is Mick Foley winning the title on this match?
Right. And the fact that you were pleased with it when it turned out, you're like, oh,
yeah. Like, I swear to God, I'm watching these shows like I don't even know what's going to happen next. And I mean, that's great for me. I think it's a great exercise. And bro, I make no bones. Like if I did something that didn't work, or shit, I should have done this instead of that. That's the way I'll look at it. And you know what, bro? 20 years later, I might have a totally different perspective on what I did back then. But like I said, the cool thing is, Matt, I've not seen a lot of this stuff for 20 years.
And it's really great. You check out the Patreon. There's levels for everybody. And of course, if you want to get to russosbrand.com, it's a really inexpensive way to get a lot of great content every week. I think it's almost a must-have for every wrestling fan. And it doesn't barely touch your wallet at all at like $4 a month. It's Vince and his cast of characters, many of which have a lot of credibility in the wrestling industry, talking about wrestling. And of course, if you like the way I interview people, You're going to hear me one-on-one with people every week, the way I am with Vince Russo, different wrestlers every week over on MLW Network, and total engagement with Matt Kuhn on the MLW Network. And Vince, it's been a great show. I think people are going to enjoy this. People love the TNA stuff. And give us some feedback. Let us know what you think. And Vince, when you look back on this time at TNA, give us a final thought.
It's a shame. It's a shame because to me, there's always going to be the what if. You know, what if you would have left well enough? And I think there was a real, bro, I'm going to be honest with you, I think there was a real opportunity when the shit went down between Jeff and Kurt. Jeff was sent home. There was about a 4 week period there where we were starting to put the emphasis on the young guys, and the show was starting to be about the young guys. I'll never know the what if we would have continued to go down that road.